All right, welcome to episode number 96 of Geographically Challenged. No free feet pictures today. Every time we do a live episode, I usually don't wear socks, but someone in the comments is always like, free feet?
Free toes.
Free toes?
The dogs are barking.
There will be no free toes. There will be no free toes today, although there is a good chance that we'll do maybe even another one of these here, because we're here for 2 weeks, and then I'll be in Extremes Land as well for a week after this as well. So there'll definitely be one at Extremes Land, probably with Pilski and Conky, and hopefully Kay from Meta, if I can get him on.
Is he going out? Nice.
Yeah, he's going out for that, so we're looking forward to that one. But obviously, we've got a returning guest here. I mean, fair to even say you're probably not a guest at this point. You're just a fairly regular contributor to the podcast. I think this is probably like your fourth or fifth. Fourth or fifth.
When am I getting paid for these appearances? This is fucking crazy, man.
I mean, we did have a sponsor for a little while, but unfortunately you didn't get on any of those episodes.
Fuck.
So you've missed out on that one. But yeah, we're in China again for Crossfire.
Yeah.
So good opportunity to have a bit of a chat about, what's happening at the major, and that'll be primarily what this episode's focused on, because again, for regular viewers, we're obviously an Asia CS focused podcast, but when it comes to major time, we like to talk about what's happening at the major and whatnot. So we'll crack on into that. And I think the first question I actually have for you, Nao, here is,
Go on.
what's it like being here at the Geographically Challenged major? Because now you're kind of finally getting a bit of a taste of what it's like to be on the wrong side of the world when the major is happening. Because if you remember last year when we did this,
Shanghai was on at the same time.
The Shanghai major was on, so it was on our time zone. We were like, this is brilliant. But now you're getting a taste of what it's like for all of us who are geographically challenged to watch the major starting at midnight and waking up and it's done. So how's that been?
One of my first times, basically ever since being involved in Counter-Strike, that I've actually had it being geographically challenged. Obviously, like you said, we were in Shanghai last time, so we were following the results as they were happening. Oh, cheers. Like basically the whole day, which was quite nice. So we were pretty on the right time zone, so we could kind of like live tweet throughout games, and we were watching most of the games in the evening. But now, I mean, since we've been in China, I've not watched a single game of the major. Granted, we've been busy. We've been, for those who maybe don't follow us on the socials, we flew out into Chongqing first, which is, most people know it's like the cyberpunk city. Just a lot of bright lights and tall buildings. We were out there for a few days, like a mini holiday before starting this event. Now we're in Chengdu. But yeah, it's been weird, I will say. Like, it's like, I feel like, especially end of stage 1 into stage 2, I'm like so out of touch with what's happening. Like, I literally just found out that it was like Imperial have made it through to like 3-1 and stuff. Like, granted, that happened like yesterday, but it's like, I'm like waking up this morning and being like, how the fuck is this happening? Like, or like 3D Max are 2-2. Like, guys, like, how have we lost a bait? Like, what's going on here? So it's all very like, it's new to me, and I can understand very much the pain here, because you either have to like really just sacrifice sleep. It actually reminds me a lot. I'm a big NBA fan, and I'm like a bit of a diehard Toronto Raptors fan. And for coming up in towards this event, I watched, like, we were on a pretty good win streak. Basically, we're like the second best team in the East currently. Us and the Pistons, which means nothing to probably most people. But I stayed up for the last like 10 games, which means they finished at like 4 a.m. my time, which actually feels very akin to like what a geographically challenged like CS watch is like. It's like sacrificing a good normal sleep schedule for the sake of love of the game and watching it. So I get it a little bit in that sense, but it's not easy.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately for us here, it hasn't exactly been the major that we've wanted it to be, especially given, I think, some of the stories that we had coming out of the Austin major. Everything was looking fantastic for Asia. Obviously Mongols was on the rise, just made that grand final. Lynn Vision did well, made stage 3. Tyloo didn't really do too much. FlyQuest didn't really do too much, but we had added that extra slot, which now, by the way, we've lost again, thanks to Tyloo and FlyQuest in stage 2 not doing too well. But we can talk all about that, obviously, as we go through. I think we should start with stage 1, because we haven't recorded a Geographically Challenged episode since prior to the major. The last one we did was like the pre-major preview, of which 90% of it was wrong, as it typically is. Of course. So we'll talk about stage 1 first, then we'll get into stage 2. So if you're only interested in the stage 2 topics, you want a bit more like the up-to-date stuff, there'll be timestamps. You can skip ahead and skip to halfway through the show where we're talking about what's happening as of today. But we'll go back about a week or so and talk about stage 1. And I think the biggest... I would say the biggest talking point, the biggest, hottest topic out of stage 1 probably was FlyQuest going 3-0. And I don't know if I say that just as an Australian that's finally like, oh yeah, Australia kind of did something, or if is that just a global sentiment as well, do you think? Yeah,
I'd agree. I think it was basically, for me, there was 2 main talking points, like the positives and the negatives, where it was like, FlyQuest was one of those real big positives of like this is a side who came into. I think I say more people that I saw had FlyQuest not even making it through than did. I had them making it through, but I think but a large part of that is that like Regali's my boy, and like I'm just kind of like going back in my mate in a way. But I did believe that they can do well and make it through. But I was thinking like 3-1, 3-2, that kind of section. I had them in that section. So them going 3-0. First of all, fuck my pick'ems. And then also it was sick to see. So like they were like with the real big positive for me, where it was like this is a side that I think more people than not, especially I guess I see predominantly like people in EU doing their pick'ems and stuff. I didn't see that many people putting FlyQuest just through at all.
I mean, I don't really blame them in a sense because of it's been a shocking run in general for FlyQuest, or even going prior to FlyQuest. Like that core of that roster for I would say like the past 2 to almost 3 years has been maybe not hitting the quote unquote potential. And it's like they want to. I would say globally in Counter-Strike, they're probably like one of the cores that has been given the most rope, if that makes sense. Like how many teams can you remember that have consistently delivered some somewhat average performances but stayed as a team? Does that make sense?
Exactly,
or stayed as a core. And obviously there's been roster changes, especially more so frequently since FlyQuest have kind of come into the picture, and in the last 12 months started to sort of dabble with the roster, and I think by all accounts those have been fairly positive changes, so credit for that one. But I think it's definitely been a team that is quite easy to quote unquote underrate or even rate low for a good reason, if that makes sense, rather than underrate.
Deservedly in a way,
The only thing I would say there is that, like, again, if you are watching the more recent games, the Draculan, maybe not so much, but more so PGL Bucharest was where we saw that uptick, and that's where I think a lot of people that were a little bit more keenly aware of what's like instead of just like a passive viewer of FlyQuest is this team, more of a actual we are a FlyQuest fan, we are an Australian CS fan. You're watching that a bit more in depth, or you're focusing on their game a little bit more so than just checking the result, for example. You're going, these guys actually looked a little bit better here. There was some good Counter-Strike being played. Maybe they're a shot for the major, and I think that's where a lot of faith from the AUCS fans kind of came in, and I think generally speaking there was a lot of hopium maybe coming into this major for FlyQuest, and they definitely delivered in stage 1. Now, that didn't necessarily obviously translate into stage 2, and we can talk about that when we get to
while we're talking about stage
2.
1, it's like as 100% success rate as a coach.
That's right.
Like, that was the funny meme going around. It was like, big up Azza. Like, this guy cannot lose a major yet.
Yeah, exactly. I made a tweet. He's got a 100% win rate at the major, coach of the year candidate, whatever. He was doing quite well. I think, generally speaking, he has still done well. And again, I think we'll just get into that a little bit more when we get to stage 2. But just focusing in on stage 1, the positives to take away there were pretty significant.
They played some good Counter-Strike. They looked legit.
I think that's the biggest thing for me is like even with that stage 2 result, it's kind of like, look, end of the day, we saw something from FlyQuest which we haven't seen in, I would say, probably the better part of like 2 years, where it did look like to an extent that they were a team that could, finally get over those demons of going 2-0 to 2-3. So that's a big win. That's a big step forward in my mind. And sure, again, like a lot of people are going to, I think, look at that and say, they're a dog shit team, blah, 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 this and that and whatever. But like, it's, it's different when you're coming from the perspective of someone who is a supporter of the region versus you're just someone who watches Counter-Strike and you have no emotional or significant extra tie to that team. For a region that has not had any success for the longest of times, to even see something is kind of nice, right? It's been good, and obviously you see the individuals doing well as well. Like Vexite was doing quite well in stage 1. JKS is JKS. Regali's always been good. Ins again seems like he's found a little bit more of that form with some of the role shifts that he's been given, and Netic I think as well. He's just doing his thing, which is fine at this stage in his career.
Young as well, so it's like he's actually got a bit of leeway.
The formula for the team kind of looks good, if that makes sense. It's just about now kind of like refining that and getting it to a consistent level. And
also, I think there's probably like a safe argument. I think, let's say and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine recently about Fnatic, and I said, because there's obviously the running meme in the UK, and I think not even just the UK, I think a lot of people just in general about, the Fnatic hate watch, right, after the Cypher decision. And we can kind of go into more detail about that later. But I was saying, the same vein with Fnatic it is with FlyQuest. Like, if you actually come in as a neutral in towards that narrative and you say, right, you're going to go to the major, what is your expectations or hopes going in towards the major? If you're FlyQuest and you know, if your recent form, granted there was a bit of an uptick, but in general, this year has not been something fantastic for FlyQuest. They're not really like uber competitive at a tier 1 level. They're not like going tournaments where people like, this team should make playoffs, that kind of vibe, right? They're not at that level, right? So if you say to them, like, you know, if they had to sit down as a team beforehand and said, what is our like expectations, then maybe even like hopes. If they said, if we get stage 2, we'd be happy, I think that sounds pretty valid.
100%. I think most people would have said, hey, get FlyQuest even just through 3 and 2.
Yep.
And people will be like, that's an improvement. Exactly. That's what we want.
So they've gone through stage 1, 3-0, and yes, granted, we'll get on stage 2, not exactly the way they would have hoped, but the fact that they've got to stage 2, even just like small things, like first of all, just generally for the org and the players, more sticker money, just first and foremost, which is obviously good just to have funds from a region that does struggle with funds as a whole. But it is, I think, you know, when you look at FlyQuest and the scope of this year, that's a pretty good thing. They've made it to stage 2 of a major, making it through one of the most awkward gauntlets as well. Like, I always think stage 1 is it can be such a bloodbath, not because the teams are so good, but because they're so many shitbots.
We'll talk about the random results in a second.
Exactly. So many shitbots who like just come. I mean, and as well, there's probably like, you know, maybe it's something we've been coming to a little bit when we talk about stage 1 overarching. I don't know how you feel about this, but like, stage 1 is just not better than the RMRs.
Like, I mean, is this the conversation of should stage 1 even exist? Like, because I've seen that conversation going around a little bit.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
I'm happy to transition into that direction as well.
It's so bad. It's so boring.
I will just say shout out to Vexite one time for a great stage 1.
Yes.
Unfortunate what happened in stage 2, but
one of the worst. Did you see Maui's tweet about it?
No, I didn't.
So Maui's tweet
highest to lowest kind of thing.
It is. So he was rank. I want to say 1 or 2.
He was number 1 in stage 1.
Number 1, yeah. So rank 1 in stage 1 with it was like a 1.46 or something crazy as rating. Good, when they got knocked out, he was 80th out of 80 of the players. Yeah. Maui was just saying like, this is the worst swing I've ever seen. Like, and it is actually like you know, shout out him for stage 1, but like to go from number 1 in the stage out of 80, then go to 80 out of 80. That's one of the worst levels of consistency I think I've ever seen. I can never talk about inconsistency for another team ever without then mentioning
Counter-Strike giveth, Counter-Strike taketh. Yeah, that is just how it be. But yeah, should stage 1 exist? Well, yeah, I mean that's the conversation at this point. I guess my take is, I mean, look, if we're not having RMRs, I think stage 1 needs to exist or should exist.
No, 100%.
But if the option is, would you rather have the RMRs or stage 1? I would rather have the RMRs. The thing is, like, I think people are just never happy, though. Like, that's actually the issue. Like, a lot of this conversation coming into 2025, where we were getting stage 1 as opposed to the RMRs, was, you know, this is going to be better because it's going to mean we're going to get better teams in for stage 2 and deeper in the major. You know, everyone's going to have to play against each other. You won't get, you know, X or Y Asia teams or X or Y South America teams going through. And you know, it'll be fairer and this and that. And it's like, well, that you would assume that would be the case, But actually, ultimately, at the end of the day, I feel like it is kind of a moot point, like because stage 1 has, and even with stage 2, the results that we've seen so far, the results have just been so random. And you could put it down to BO1s, and you can, in some cases, put it down to BO1s. But I still think
which should be gone. Just first and
sure, but
foremost.
like I still think even looking at like the BO3s, like, you know, again, we're jumping the gun a little bit here by like even Aurora, for example, don't make it through stage 3. They lost BO3s. You know, like
it was a 1-3 for them as well. Yeah,
they went 1 and 3. You know, like it's like
they lost 3 best of 3s. I know it's always about it. Like,
well, they lost 2.
Two.
Yeah, but it's like. You know, every single team that gets knocked out has lost a BO3.
Yeah.
Some of them have lost, you know, gone up and down and whatever. And like some of these results are just absolutely fried. And it's like, would BO3s necessarily fix all of this? Or is it just a nature of the fact that we've got all of these teams that you're just not accustomed to getting thrown into a bit of a melting pot? You know, it's a brutal competition, obviously, over sort of 3 or 4 days where you've got to get through 16-team bracket. And that's like... you know, how many teams can you feasibly prepare for? How many teams can you be ready to play? You know, and then how are you feeling on the day? Yes, removing the BO1s would reduce some element of the randomness, but I still think that some of these results would still be a little bit goofy. But again, at the end of the day, ultimately, my takeaway is I would still prefer to see RMRs. just purely for the storylines themselves.
So
like I think that's the biggest thing that those RMRs and again, speaking as someone from a weaker region, you know, that focuses a little bit more on the domestic competition.
Yeah.
Those events were like the lifeblood of. That's what everyone was gunning for, you know.
Yes.
You're not even gunning to just get to the major. Like I think I'm assuming in Europe it's like, yeah, we want to make the major. And it's like that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But for ANZ teams, for Asia teams, it's like, if we can even just go to the RMR, like that's what we want. We just want to go to the RMR because that's huge for us.
That was the same thing. I always remember like Bait a few years ago when they got to their first one. This is like, you know, this is the Bait before this team when it was like Captain Kirker and that kind of vibe, right? And that for them it was like, you know, making it to the, or like I think the greatest example that I always have is like Into the Breach, right? Like Into the Breach, granted their story is always now top 8 at Paris Major, but in the grand scheme of things, it was always about, you know, oh my god, we've made it to the RMR. Or Viperia, another UK team. We had 2 UK teams for the first time ever, but Endpoint had never been able to make it. So yeah, I think for me, like, it's just like the way I look back at it, I always look back at like conversations that like I think a lot of like top like talent and names within the industry are like spoken about, where they were like, the RMRs are like bad because there's bad teams in it. It's like, yes, granted,
it's true,
right? But Stage 1 also has bad teams that are fucking so boring and so shit to watch. And we don't get what is... I mean, the thing that made the RMRs good, again, was not about, like... It wasn't really the level of Counter-Strike, so to say. It was the emotions of them making it to the major. Like, again, the big one you always talk about, B&E, they were, like, RMR, like, kings, right? But the storylines of teams like that making it to the major or Into the Breach, I was with Into the Breach when... they made it to the major, or you know, I started standing in front of them, or I remember I was standing with the Into the Breach boys in the kind of like green room area at the Blast Studios when B&E beat Faze, by in doing so, meant that ITB went straight to the Legend stage.
Yeah,
and like that was crazy. Like it was like a bunch of guys that I'd grown up casting with and grown up in the scene, going to like Epic Land, which is I guess like your version like Bris Vegas type vibe, like local lands kind of thing. You know, prize pool of $1,000 type vibe. Guys I'd grown up doing that with and going to these events with, and like I started my casting journey like, you know, with like Endpoint, for example, or whatever, like really early on, and some of these guys being part of Endpoint and this, that, and the other. And then they're making it to Legend stage. So it's all about that memories for me. And it's like, I mean, there's no way that anybody can legitimately sit here and say I'd much rather watch Stage 1 of this major, which was fucking ass, by the way, like just so bad compared to like any RMR. You know, again, Blast RMR is a good example of like where we had some really decent games. And like that Faze B&E game delivered. It was fucking crazy. And some of the qualification games, and again, the emotions of the qualification, there's just no way, like, no one gives a shit about like these, like, you know, like, oh, this team's like, you know, we even had things where it's like, for example, it was like 3 RMRs in a row where Bait went 2-0 up and then went 2-3. And it's like, they've had that when they finally broke that deadlock of, oh my God, we've actually made it to a major. It was like a huge thing for them, a massive like sigh of relief, this, that, and the other. But yeah, it's like, there's just no way, like in terms of like raw storylines and like actual like
entertainment
investment in towards what is like what I'm watching, and I really like the narratives here. I'm going into like, oh, here's a 1-1 game. And it's like, I could not care less.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself the question, like, what is the purpose of Counter-Strike esports? What is the purpose of why do we do what we do, right? And at the end of the day, it's an entertainment product, right?
Exactly,
it's for people to watch, and it's a sport, and it exists as a sport because of the competition and because of the fact that people want to watch that competition. And what is the best viewing? What's the most entertaining tournaments you can watch? The major and the RMRs.
There's no way anybody can legitimately sit here and argue with me now and say Stage 1 of this major is more exciting than any RMR.
I disagree. I disagree.
Way in hell. And I think as well, there'll be some people who do. You're either coping massively for whatever reason, or you're just chatting shit. There's no way like that someone can say like this is more exciting. Like watching the whole of a Stage 1 is more exciting than what I mean, even to a degree, a little bit of Stage 2, especially like, you know, there's like half of the teams in the Stage 2, which again I'm not like super invested into. It's like, again, it's like, you know, and one of the beautiful things about the RMR, which I liked as well, is that I got to be slightly invested in a more niche sense in regions,
regional rivalries.
It's like, granted, let me be frank, don't give a fuck really about the Americas scene. Let me put it out there one time. I don't give a shit really. But you know, the people who do, like a lot of my friends that live in America, Balder, Nexner, yada yada. And for them, it's a big deal, right? They're watching just the Americas one, enjoying seeing the teams that they follow regularly. I, who follow EU and a lot of Asia, I do. I'm sure those who watch this will know to some degree, but I do all of like ECL Asia basically, right? I do all the playoffs, and I've done it for for the last like 4 years. So I've been pretty invested into the Asian scene for a long time. I do a lot of the casting for it. And I'm pretty sure that's basically where we met, doing some sort of Asia stuff.
Yeah,
basically.
probably.
But yeah, it's like, for me, it was like I'd always wake up, watch Asia, and be invested in what's going on in Asia, and then it would tick over into EU, which I'd then be working. So it was like it was the best of both. And then when I got to Americas, I got to sleep because I didn't care. So it was perfect. So I got to follow the scenes that I wanted to see, and it got to be that kind of niche thing about like being invested into it. But now it's like, right, here's a kind of a cooking pot of everyone in the world, and half of these teams I don't care about. And it's like, I'd maybe care a little bit more if it was like Huns versus Rare Atom at an RMR, where it's like, okay,
right, for a spot.
Exactly, or for a spot or for survival. But then when it's like Huns versus Rare Atom after they've just lost to Flux, so like I couldn't care less. Like you know what I mean. So this is there's no way anyone can make an argument that, like, for me at least, like I would never be convinced otherwise that the RMRs are worse than stage 1 of a major.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in agreement on that one, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to make it. We're not going to see a change.
I can't remember again. I remember at the time. Why did they actually make the change? Why did Valve actually do it? I can't even remember why.
I think I don't know that there was any confirmed reason, but I think the prevailing sentiment was that the cost of running the RMRs was just not really worth it in comparison to we can shove them all into one stage of the major and sort of put it all together and run it all back to back, and that's all well and good. But I guess at the end of the day, like, theoretically, you could do the same thing with the RMRs and put them all in X or Y region where the major is, which I don't necessarily like, because first of all, time zones. You want your RMR region, like you want your regional tournament on your regional time zone. That was one of the issues with, I think, one of the tournaments. One of the RMRs was like in the location that the major was in.
Yes.
And I remember the Asia RMR was like midnight to 6 a.m. and it was like, well, this doesn't feel like an Asia RMR because it's not on Asia time zone. You don't have anyone that's involved in Asia. It's all just the major casters, and nothing against that necessarily.
PGL?
I think it was PGL.
Yeah, it was PGL,
I personally liked the regional aspect to it, like, and that is coming from.
Invested,
that's coming from
exactly.
It's coming from a biased perspective because I'm someone that is regionally focused, but like I want the regional commentators to work it. I want the regional tournament operators to operate it, and to be on the regional time zone, because that's what builds up the regional aspect of the game. And I think that that's important to the game if we want to have a global game, to have people in their specific subregions be able to operate a tournament product like that.
And I will say as well, if you look at the grand scheme of things, like, I mean, look at how this year has been with like for both Austin and for this major, especially actually this major. How convoluted and confusing it's been of who's actually fucking qualifying, bro. It's like
that too,
it's like, although NIP have actually got to the semi-finals of Fragadelphia, so therefore by them, if they win this game, then Heroic are actually 1 point off making it to the major, and they don't get to go, and NIP go instead. But then Bait actually go up a spot because Bait got top 6 at drag, and it's like, oh my god, like this is so stupid. The fact that we have to have people like Mischief, of course, is the one I know he does a lot of work within kind of the UK scene, and then I forget the guy's name, and I feel bad for it because he does a lot of work as well, but I think it begins with a J, like Jonas or Johannes or something, but he's another guy who does stuff with, he's like the VRS god, and then Messioso is another great example where he's like a little bit more in terms of the rules. But the fact that like we have to have these people who are just doing it for the love of the game, they're doing it out kind of like they're wanting to just be a bit of a voice, like these people who are understanding the semantics behind this fucking like spreadsheet. I forgot the bit something or other where like Valve's RMR.
Oh, GitHub,
yeah, that's the one. Like, man, like the fact that we have to have that to understand who's making it to the major, rather than what it was like, all right, you're this ranked, then you've done this, so you get to go to the RMRs, and then at the RMRs, if you win these games, you go through to the major. Like, it's so simple, it's so easy to follow. Like, I can't even understand, I can't even begin to imagine what it's like being like a 2025 new fan of Counter-Strike and coming in
trying
and
to figure out what's going on.
I want to watch the top level of the scene, and I want to watch the best of the best. Who is the best of the best, and how do they get here? And then it's like, well, actually, like, because this team won this event and but they lost this event, they're like 2 points off the VRS. But if they win this online best of 3 in the Nodwin Clutch Campus 3 fucking bullshit tier 3 tournament, then they've got enough VRS points to make it by 1 point. It's like, oh my god, this is so dumb. Like, there's just no way. Like, it's like, it doesn't help entertainment wise. It's so confusing. I can't imagine new fans trying to get involved in this. They must literally have to only follow the absolute peak of the peak. peak, and then they basically have to
Oh,
work
that's what
their
it
way.
works for. That's what it works
They
for.
work their way down, and yeah, at the tier 1, like top level of tier 1, which is I guess like where a lot of the argument comes from, where it's like the top level, it makes complete sense, right? Where we are getting the best of the best going through to stage 3, where rather than in the past where we'd had like some of the best teams in the world who've been the best all the way throughout the year, fumble a bit at the RMR, fumble a bit at the stage, the kind of first instance of the major, and then it would have like teams like, if you look back to Paris, a good example, we had ITB, Monty, Apex, Gamerlegion.
Gamerlegion, yeah.
4 tier 2 teams who made it top 8. And that was the biggest counter argument. And I'm going to actually get behind that. I can agree. It wasn't the best of the best at the playoff stage of the major. So granted, I can agree with that. But there's just no way, like as a new fan, you must literally have to follow. Like I can only just about fathom who's top 5 here and why they're top 5, because they've had consistently the kind of the same results. And then anything lower than that, I'm confused as to why they're this ranked.
Yeah, I mean, I think to an extent, like I do kind of like the VRS aspect of it. I think there's a lot of positives to be taken away from having a global ranking that everyone kind of agrees is the important one.
Yeah.
The only issue I would sort of say is like if you want to mess around with it and change it, or change the system, with regard to how teams qualify to the major, like you would still run into the same problem of who's going to qualify based on VRS to the RMR as opposed to the major. It would just be less of a problem because it's going to be weaker teams. It's going to be more teams because there's going to be the teams going into the RMR.
I guess the middle
so
ground is
like whatever.
VRS into the online qual, which is like the only people who would really care about that would be the diehards like us and some of you guys watching who are like really keen to watch a lot of the games. And then it's like, right, from online qual onwards, like regional, because that's what we used to have, is like regional online quals, like China qual, Mongolia qual kind of thing, Oz qual, like all like OCE qual. So it's like then from then on it makes sense where it's like you win these 3 games, you make it through, you lose, you qualify, you don't make it. Then at the RMR, you win these 3 games.
I definitely think there's
that
a
feels
nice
like a middle ground.
I think there is a nice middle ground where you could do, the top 8 teams to stage 3, the next top 8 teams to stage 2. Yeah. And then everyone else qualifies through qualifiers into the
that's the way I was thinking.
Or VRS invites into the RMR. RMR qualifies into stage 2. Yeah. Stage 2 qualifies into stage 3.
That's
stage
exactly
3
how in my middle ground. It's like you like off the VRS because it works so well at the top level, at the top level.
Yeah, we've seen
that. The top 8 go all the way to stage 3, kind of like what we've got now basically.
Exactly.
So the stage 2 and 3 are basically kept the same. But the teams that join in, it's like RMR into stage 1. Stage 1, again, same thing. Maybe you could even technically have 8 teams in stage 1 that I could sort of get behind and another 8 join them from the RMR. Yeah. I can get behind that. I think that makes, like, that feels like a middle ground where I can get involved. But there's just, like, no way now. It's like, again, like, even if we're speaking regionally, it's like teams like the Huns, like, would they actually qual if it was like an RMR?
Well, when it was an RMR, they didn't qual.
Exactly.
They lost to God's Reign.
That's what I mean. Exactly that. So then it's like, if we're being frank, like, yes, they can like farm online because they're the second best in their domestic region, or of course Mongolia, and then internationally in Asia they're like okay, but there's not that many opportunities. But then if you put them on LAN where they're going toe to toe, lost to God's Reign, and they don't do well on LAN, but when they play against some of these Chinese teams, this is the thing where it's like, for me, it's like I just don't see the argument really of like how you can't have like the best of both. But again, I think the only thing, the big ticker will always just be cost.
Well, that's it, exactly. And I also think, just for what it's worth, I think if that were to be implemented, where you get invited, X or Y teams get invited to the RMR as opposed to directly to the major, that also would negate some of the fuckery that we see towards the back end of the season, where TOs are trying to sort of game the system. And this was a very big thing going into Austin. I feel like less of a thing going into this major because things were a little bit more set in stone. But certainly at the Austin major, there was a bunch of tournaments popping up with 1 week left to the deadline for certain regions, and trying to boost their region
specific
tournaments. It was like, this is going to be a Mongolia tournament, or this is going to be a China tournament, and it's like, well, don't know if this is really how the system is necessarily supposed to work, but that's how it's been. So anyways,
again, coming back to like the another like point which we won't go into too much detail about, but Valve really actually needs somebody to be like an esports, like, at the company. Again, like I think the running, like, kind of quote unquote meme about
commissioner.
Commissioner. The running kind of meme about it is that it should have been Graham Messioso, and it's like spot on. Like, Graham is actually like definitely the perfect person to do it. Granted, he's now employed. Big up him one time, but But you know, like they actually, I feel like just need somebody who can be a little bit of like a mediator between the two, because there is still things again, like the fact that we have to have like, you know, dudes on Twitter who's telling us like what's going on, basically, like it's kind of mental. Like me, also who are involved in this, I'm still like sometimes like, what the hell is actually happening? Like
we even the other day we were having a chat in the Geographically Challenged Discord. By the way, link in the description. Don't know how I always manage to do that. By the way, it's like every episode I manage to get a plug in. But it's I guess it's because there are actually these conversations happening on Discord that I keep referring to in the podcast. We were having a conversation around like, oh, what is it? At what point does Asia gain or lose a slot? And I was saying, oh, because we've got 2 teams now in stage 2, we're going to get an extra one in stage 1. And then someone corrected me and was like, no, that's not actually how it works. The stage 1 slots are set. And you get 4 for Asia and 6 for Americas and 6 for Europe. And that's just how it is. And I was like, oh, yeah, like I remember that now. But like, because in my head, you know, like if you make it to stage 3, you gain a stage 2 slot. I was like, well, it would make sense.
That case, right?
Well, it would make sense that if you go to extra team into stage 2, you would get a slot in stage 1. But no, it doesn't all work like that. And I think that in hindsight, that actually makes sense, because there would be a world potentially where a region would perform so poorly that they lose all of their stage 1 slots and therefore have no teams in the major and therefore cannot have teams in the major.
True.
And, you know, there would be no qualification. Makes no sense. So, okay, that makes sense. But, like, I think there's definitely, you know, like, I'm an extremely invested viewer of Counter-Strike. And even
still
that
confused by stuff.
is going over my head a little bit. And it's like, I kind of knew it, but, like, I just didn't think about it. And it's like, how do you, if you're just a casual fan, know all this shit? I don't know.
Again, I come back to the thing of like, you know, the basics of this thing. This is an entertainment product first and foremost, a competitive entertainment product, but you know, that as they are all in some way. How does a new fan get involved in this? You know, I think about like, you know, the NBA. It makes complete sense. It's so easy to see like who makes it through, or football. I mean, you know, big football fan. You look at the like Champions League, for example. It's very similar to like a major, or like the World Cup, right? Very similar to a major. It is so easy to see you win your group, or you finish top 2 in your group. You make it to the next stage, like Swiss system, whatever. But it's like there's just no way as a new fan coming in. I can't even imagine. I might even try and test this. Like, you know, I've got some of my mates up from home that used, you know, I play CS with, but I'm not invested in the like competitive scene at all. But every now and again they'll ask me like, you know, is G2 still like great? Or like the class one I got the other day, is Cloud9 still good? I was like, bro, Cloud9 on Cloud9. Like they're not here, bro. But it's like, you know, they you know, they're talking about like these guys were like the last time they watched CS was like Boston Major. Yeah. So they're like, you know, play CS with them, but they don't watch it at all. But I might actually say to them like, can you just like put a bit of time aside and just watch a little bit of CS and try and keep up with the top scene and just let me know how you feel about it, because
how do you understand it?
Struggle to keep like the top scene I can kind of get, but I struggle to understand what's going on, so I don't know how they would.
Anyway, that was a bit of a big tangent. Let's go back onto some CS discussion from stage 1. We've only really talked about FlyQuest so far. One of the other teams, or a couple of the other teams that we need to talk about here, obviously, is Lynn Vision and Rare Atom. And I would say big disappointments for the Chinese region in stage 1. In particular, Lynn Vision, obviously, having gone from a stage 3 team the previous major to getting knocked out 0-3 at this major. Rare Atom, for me personally, were actually a 0-3 team. I had them in my pick 'em as a 0-3 team. I've been a bit of a hate maxer for Rare Atom for the last sort of few months, and they definitely delivered in that department by choosing to play with Marek, and he was fucking...
It wasn't a choice.
Well, I think from again, and this is another thing where the Discord comes into play, because I'm not 100% up on the rules of who they had to play with, but there was conversations that they may have been able to play with another player. I can't even remember. Chenking, that's right. Yeah, it was Chenking was on the roster, and they could have played with Chenking. That's what people were saying. I don't know whether that's true from a rules perspective or that they had to play with Marek, but either way, there was the decision, obviously, well in advance to put Kaze on the bench and have Marek play in the server. And I mean, you look at it and say, look, Kaze wasn't exactly lights out for Rare Atom for a little while, but Marek was definitely not the guy.
Well, didn't Tiger replace Kaze?
No, Tiger. So I mean, this again, and this
roles-wise, he is now.
Roles-wise, yes. But this was where the big fucking discussion is around Rare Atom, and this is why I kind of didn't like this team at that point. Was that they made so many of these roster changes? So, you know, somebody was out for Trash. That was the big haha joke, and then Trash kind of like was there for like 2 weeks, and then he got benched, and that's when Tiger, I think, came in. And then they were playing with Tiger and Kaze, but Marek was coaching at that time. And then at some point it became Marek's now playing and Kaze's just on the bench, and
Yeah.
Kaze's now coaching for this team was like, I think I saw an announcement that Kaze's now coaching or assistant coaching or something like that. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe that was a decision that they've all made together as a team, but that just doesn't seem like it's gone down in the right capacity, especially considering Kaze played the majority of this season and then went into the bench like a month before the major sort of thing. And so that decision was made that at some point, obviously Marek was eventually going to have to play the major, and somebody should have been aware of that. And so I just didn't like it in general.
This was from one of the guys who's like one of the VRS guys on Twitter, and he was saying about his pick'ems, and he said, I'm now putting Rare Atom 03 because Chenking, I think he said he couldn't get a visa or something like that to get out there. And the reason I knew that Chenking wasn't playing, granted, so I made my video about like these are my pick'ems or whatever, right? And I kind of generally, if I make the video, I try and stick with it. I actually wanted to put Rare Atom 03 when I knew Marek was playing. And the reason I knew Marek was playing is because I did the ECL Asia Finals, Rare Atom versus Lynn Vision. Which was just Poop versus Far. Actually, historically, that was the longest game in Counter-Strike history.
We talked about that last episode. I said, man, I kind of wanted to I wanted to do a bit of Asia. I was like, I wish I was casting the Asia final. But then I woke up in the morning and I saw the result, and I was like, fucking thank God I didn't cast a 7-hour best of 5.
Longest game in CS2 history by 1 round.
It would have started at midnight Australia time, midnight my time. I would have been casting until like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
7
it was. I think
horrible.
My call time was like 1 p.m. EU. And I think I finished at 7 p.m. No, it was close to 8. It was like 8 p.m. I'm pretty sure it was when I finished.
Yeah.
I think it was just under 7 hours. I think it was the best 3, but it's the longest in terms of rounds. It was like somebody tweeted when I did the tweet about like fucking longest game or whatever. I was like, I don't know if this is the longest. Can somebody who's like into this let me know? And he messaged me. There was like a game of like it's like tier 3 LAN, which is a best of 5. That was like I would think it was like 166 rounds, and this was like 167.
Yeah.
Cooked. I'm fucked. But yeah, it was brutal. They were both fucking awful as well. They were just both shit. And I remember like I finished that game and I was like, I already didn't have Lynn Vision going through. And I said to my mates, I was like, these guys, I promise you're not going through.
Yeah.
I think they might squeak a win, but they're not going through.
Yeah.
And then loads of my mates were like, nah, like Lynn Vision is sick. Like, look what they did last major.
They were last major, but that was because
like,
Amelia went superhuman.
Exactly. And I was like, bro, you don't watch Asia. Like, I'm telling you, these guys suck ass. They're so bad. And then Rare Atom, when I saw that Chenking wasn't playing, because Chenking's pretty talented, I was like, with Chenk, I like, they can squeak a win, like a best of 1 win.
Sure.
When I was like Marek's playing, and then I watched this best of 5, and I was like, I wish I was like, I could so easily like change Rare Atom to my 03 here. I probably would have taken out Red Cannon. I would have kept the Huns. I would have died on that hill of the Huns. No offense to them. But I would have changed probably Red Cannons for Rare Atom if it wasn't for me already releasing the video. But yeah, big disappointment from Lynn Vision in particular. Rare Atom, to be expected. This team, I really don't know what they do. There is some decent. I will say, like, first of all, in that best of 5, Tiger, he actually looks really sharp.
I think Tiger's good.
I think Tiger's very, very sharp. I mean,
that's a good change.
I've been covering him for a while. He's been playing on like all of this, like New Happy, and like all of these, like teams in like the tier 3 of Asia or whatever. But granted, he's always looked quite sharp, and he actually looks really quite legit in that team. So he was fun to watch. But I don't know what is next for this team. They need like a full, like obviously kind of you have to keep the core, but it's like Tiger and Chowking, I think are the 2 like must keeps basically.
Yeah.
And then you can make fairly good arguments for like anybody else to go really.
I don't think Marek should be in the server at all.
Absolutely not. He's awful. No offense to him. Like, just go back to coaching. Like
Marek's definitely got to go. Yeah. And I also kind of feel like we're at the point where, Summers kind of had his day. I
said this at ACL. I said this on the desk. I was like, why is he still here?
Yeah.
Like, Kaze and Summer have to be the first guy. Like, what is he actually bringing?
Well, he's IGLing.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. But like, what is he actually bringing? Because like, they look awful calling wise. Like they bro, in that best of 5, I don't know if you ever end up watching any of it. First of all, don't.
Way,
like any of you watching at home, like do not go and watch that game. It's awful. You can actually, there's quite a funny thing that I did when my mate showed me. It was like me at the start of this best of 5. Like, hey guys, like welcome in. I'm full of energy. In that first map, I'm like,
you're feeling good.
And then best at that 5th
end.
map, I'm like, there's like one round towards the end where I'm like, I literally said like, what are Rare Atom doing? Like, what are we doing, guys? Like
everybody gets to that point when you're casting an Asian CS event. Like, you sort of your filter turns off. Like when we're casting, we're kind of like, oh, you never really disparage. You try not to disparage the players or speak negatively about anything.
I got to the end of this, and I was like,
sometimes you get there and you're like,
man.
what the fuck am I watching?
And that was the nail, final nail in the coffin of like, Summer should never call around a Counter-Strike again. Like, he is generally, like, some of those things, it was so bad. I actually was sitting there thinking, like, if someone told me he was like fixing, I would believe it wholeheartedly.
Well,
because
that has been
bro,
an accusation that has been leveled towards that team in the past.
Some of the dumbest calling I've ever seen, and like that's where like I don't know. I'm dying on the hill. Like, there's no way that anyone can argue to me that I would rather have 5 puggers for Rare Atom right now than have Summer calling.
This was my thing as well.
The reads were terrible as well. It was like there was like sometimes where they're like on Inferno, it would like they like be like 3 guys through into B, and they'd rotate to A. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, not saving. They'd rotate to A and then go and then be like, oh shit, they actually are going B, and then go back to B. It's like you've just like your 2B anchors have just got cleaned out. What do you mean you're like they're going A? They're not rotating A late here. Like,
I mean, the thing is, I sort of used to always have this same feeling as well.
Yeah.
Where I was like, they just are lost. Like, they don't know what they're doing, or they're making these really, really weird plays that don't really make sense on the surface. And I used to think it was because of somebody. I was like, oh, somebody's that guy. You know, if you remember, somebody was always that guy that would just throw the fucking kitchen sink at the round and see what stuck, kind of thing.
Yeah, live or die by the sword. He would just dead
push a smoke or W key through fucking like down mid on Inferno or something stupid.
He'd fly through mollies all the time.
Yeah. Like, he's got the MP9, he's fucking sending it, bro. And I was like, okay, so I disliked this team because that playstyle just infuriated me a lot of the time, because it was just absolute craziness.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a time and a place for that for sure, but not all the time. And I was like, okay, somebody's out of the roster now. That's going to, like, you know, hopefully change a little bit, you know, but if what you're saying is true, and I think to an extent, you know, based on what I saw in the major, like, there's just not that many redeeming qualities, unfortunately, for Rare Atom. And I think we can tie that into kind of like Lynn Vision as well, because I think where I want to take this, even with regard to Tyloo as well in stage 2, is like, does there just need to be a massive shake-up in the Chinese scene in general? But let's focus on Lynn Vision a little bit quickly as well, because, man, what a fucking fall-off. I mean, I guess that's like... It's in the same vein as Legacy, right? Like, and we'll talk about Legacy in a sec here as well. Legacy went from super high highs at the Austin Major.
Won CAC as well.
Doing great.
Grand finals of Bucharest, PGL Bucharest straight away afterwards. I mean, they came into this being like, these guys are like, they're not just like a 3-0 team. They are the best team at this stage. They were better than Faze in terms of current form, 100%.
Yeah, and then they obviously didn't make it through.
Yeah,
Lynn Vision go from a stage 3 team who were doing amazingly at the major, had some decent form. Obviously have fallen off a little bit. That was a big conversation going into this major. I was definitely very down on Lynn Vision coming into the major. I still put them through in my pick'ems just because of copium, hopium, whatever.
Yeah, no,
but I honestly didn't believe in them, and I didn't think that they would go 0-3. I really didn't.
That best of 5 was like, I have no faith in these guys. Like,
I think something's rotten in this Lynn Vision roster, and whether that's because of what's happened outside of the server. Everybody knows that there's those rumors about Zaka and how
was it
Zaka? It's Zaka.
No, there was 2. There was 2 simultaneously.
Yeah,
I was an ACL.
Zaka and Mercury. It was, but the Mercury one is apparently not true.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you are right. Right. Yeah.
It was definitely not Amelia. But yeah, it was Zaka. Zaka was the big one.
Yes.
Anyway, and I think
which was true from my understanding.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, at least from what was on Twitter.
Yeah. And I just wonder if, you know, is it because of this, and, you know, obviously that's caused friction in the team.
Yeah.
That's distracted him. He's your star player. He's your best player.
Yes.
He's still kind of putting up numbers, and you know, but. I think him putting up such big numbers in the previous season, in the start of 2025, was like a band-aid solution maybe to some of the problems that Lynn Vision had, where they don't have like a second star, if that makes sense. You know, Starry is there and he's really good domestically, typically, but internationally he just doesn't really show up.
He's also not like, I think I've been quite prone to this as well with Starry, that I used to always go into best of, like, you know, like into series or whatever with Lynn Vision and be like, oh, you know, we're looking at Starry here. And it's actually like, we're actually not. Like, the Starry doesn't, like not even just like roles-wise, like, he just doesn't get facilitated in the way where it's like, even if he has a good game, he's still not actually going like nuclear.
It's all about Zaka, this team, I think.
all about Zaka.
You know,
and this is the thing I think I'm pretty prone to it, and I think some people are still quite prone to it, because I always think about Starry years ago, like when it was like Starry Ace versus G2 on Vertigo, that kind of time where it's like, this guy is carrying them, like, you know, he's like, you know, and you know, obviously when the Tyloo super team got built for all of about 3 days, it was like, oh, this is sick, it's Jam Young and Starry back together, but it's actually like, you know, hindsight, it's like, Starry's actually not that big of an asset in the numbers department. They actually, like, if he's your third best player, you're pretty happy. Yeah. If he's your second best player, you're not happy. And I think that's where actually Lynn Vision are quite right now, where it's like he is like your second best player, technically speaking, or he's meant to be. Yes. But He's actually not good enough. Like he doesn't have that
The
level of
game,
output.
the games where Lynn Vision look their best are where like Westmelon's fragging, like having a
Yes,
game,
yeah.
or like for example at the last major where Amelia's just going absolutely
Insane.
crazy,
Yeah, exactly.
well above his level, and I think that that is
Yeah.
indicative of where Lynn Vision is at. I just don't know that there's enough pieces in that Lynn Vision roster to really be a competitive team on a consistent level. There's definitely good in that lineup, and I think there's room for one or two of Starry, Amelia, Kormisu, Westmelon.
Yeah.
Westmelon stays because he's the IGL. Zaka stays because he's Zaka, even though he's got out of the server issues. He's I think at the moment the best. He's the best AWP in China.
100%. Yeah.
And then you keep one of Starry, Amelia, Kormisu, or two of Starry, Amelia, Kormisu, and find another like someone that can kind of have a bit more of an impact in the server, a bit more of an aggressive tendency.
The one
I don't know, but
I look towards the change when I look at Lynn Vision, having obviously covered them a lot. But the thing is, I think it's also like the easiest scapegoat is like the anchor is Sue, right? I just think, but like sometimes, bro, like I just think on T side he looks so lost. I see so many bad maps from him. But then again, on CT side, doesn't play the greatest positions to really get into a position to be like putting up an insane number. So I always think it's like a really easy scapegoat. But like I've just seen so many times where like he's just looked like really
but more so where I'm going with this is kind of like is it less like I mean, and I know we're talking like what we're talking about right now is fucking waste of air because it will never happen because of the way that the Chinese scene operates. These teams will never intermingle in the way that we theorize. But like, do you just sort of blow Rare Atom up in a way? Pick the pieces out of Rare Atom, take take Child King over. I mean, like obviously
Child King and Tyloo, bro. No, mind.
You don't even know. I mean, I guess you could try Tiger in Tyloo, for example. Put Child King into Lynn Vision, maybe even Lihang into Lynn Vision. Depending on what your thoughts are there, but I just think I think for me, Rare Atom ran its course 12 months ago. It had run its course at the end of the Shanghai Major when they picked up that win against Fnatic, and they had the next 6 months because they were like, oh, we did okay.
This is the whole conversation on ACL. Like on the desk, we were like, what are Rare Atom doing? Just here, but like in general, like what are they actually doing? Like what is the point? This is when they're playing with Kazi, who like he'd been benched and came back at that point. And it was like, what are we at? What's the point? Like if you're the org, right, and you're looking at this team, like what is actually like the goal at the moment, the goal for this tournament, the goal for the year? And it's like the actual answer is we don't have one. We're just surviving.
We're just existing for
what's
as
the
long
point?
as we can.
You're just throwing money down the drain.
I don't think I've ever really enjoyed Rare Atom's team management because again, if you go back to the COVID time, that was a team which brought in international players. I think it was Kriaz and Blogus that were the ones that played on Rare Atom. And
wait, wasn't it even before? Oh no, was it Tyloo who had like
Tyloo had Score, Emmy, Rogo, and
they were
whatever the fuck was going on there.
As well,
and Rare Atom had Emmy, had Kriaz and Bloggers, and then Wings Up had a couple of players as well.
Fuzi,
Fuzi, and
which is an incredible picker, by the way. Like he's easily like mechanically the best player in
but just
the Chinese region.
Like just tell me what the fuck's going on with all of that, and then
if one of them could get Fuzi right now, or granted, obviously not going to work language barrier wise, but he just becomes the best player in China. I don't care.
It's
he's so good.
It's just
maybe Bar Jam Young,
but just looking at the decisions that Rare Atom have made as an org in CS, I just have never really felt like they've had a great read on CS management.
It's not quite wildcard level, but it's close.
Yeah, exactly. It's been quite bad. Lynn Vision, I'll give them the props that like this is a team that definitely has had its highs. But I do think it's to an extent kind of run its course with the current five, and I'd be interested to see where they're going to go forward. Do they kind of just consider this a little bit of blip in the radar, and they're going to get back onto it in 2026? They will play Extremesland at the end of this year, so maybe they can have a strong finish of the year, get a win there, and go into the holidays feeling
like the top teams going to Extremesland.
Lynn Vision and Rare Atom are probably the top two.
Enjoy that one, mate.
And then Rooster's there, but they're the old Rooster, which is the good Rooster, but also
the old Rooster.
Rooster with ASAP and TJP.
Okay.
But are they a real team? Probably not. So there's a lot of things there.
But again, like this is where it's like, even to a degree, like granted, not as bad as the major, but if they go into Extremesland, especially if you're like Lynn Vision, who by what you're saying, like kind of the number one team there, if they go in and then just don't win, it's like, it's like, what are we doing?
I don't think Tyloo's not playing Extremesland. I don't know if maybe there's like another decent team coming through from the Middle East. I haven't actually had a proper look yet.
Any of the Mongolian teams playing?
Yeah, there will be. I think Huns might be there. Yeah. Huns and Eruption, it might be. But again, like not teams that like any
Again,
team in
teams that
Asia.
Lynn Vision should
Yeah,
beat,
exactly,
like, every
exactly.
day of the
That's my
week.
point.
Yeah.
Is that everyone in that field, Lynn Vision should beat. Rare Atom are whatever. Anyway, look, we've talked enough about Lynn Vision and Rare Atom. I think you kind of got our thoughts. Just not a fan at the moment.
Needed.
Changes needed, I think, in general.
Probably not going to happen.
On both teams.
Rare Atom in particular, I've got to make them. Like, but they've actually got decent players, is the annoying thing. Like, Chowking, I will like go to bat and saying like I still think Chowking is like superstar level.
I think
China.
the Tiger change was good as well.
Yeah.
Like Tiger for Kaze, like I can't hate on that.
Chowking, like Li Hang, Tiger, like those three as a whole, I actually am more than happy with. I have no issues with it. It's just everything around
But
it.
you know, you need to find a IGL, and how easy is that necessarily, and stuff like that. Whatever.
Maybe you don't, judging by someone's score.
That's for
IGL now,
and that's for people who are even a bit more invested in the Chinese scene than we are.
Yeah.
Let's quick fire through the rest of these stage 1 topics because we're already at 49 minutes, so this is gonna be a long one if we keep going this in depth. But Legacy and Gamerlegion out from stage 1. Faze actually almost trolling themselves as well. I don't want to spend too long on these because they're international, but I think it bears mentioning that Legacy and Gamerlegion in particular are both out, and I mean, it's just again, it's like such a weird fucking stage, isn't it? And this kind of goes back to again where it's like, you know, is this worth it? You know, is this what we want? I mean, obviously you can put it down to the teams themselves not playing too well as well. You know, there's some fault on them. It's not necessarily just the format. It's like you didn't show up. It is what it is. Yeah. But shocking stuff because I actually had Legacy and Gamerlegion as my 3 and 0s. I felt like Gamerlegion was a bit more of an outside pick as a 3-0. But Legacy, I was like, oh, these guys are gone. If they don't go 3 and 0, they lose or BO1, whatever. Like they're still the best team. Yeah. That's kind of like, you know, what you were saying earlier. It's like these guys are easily the best team in this stage. Yeah. And they just got rocked and
they looked terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. It's just how it happens sometimes at the majors. But I feel like it's
one of those ones they don't need to change the legacy. I just think it's a blip. I think that's a bad tournament. They're it's a great year, bad tournament.
I agree, but I think with the majors in general, it's just becoming like a recurring thing. Yeah. That we just get these fucked up results, and it's like, why?
Yeah, why?
You know, why?
Indeed, yeah. Like teams just seem to lack consistency, like when it comes to the major, but they find consistency the rest of the year. I mean, the big teller will be when we get to stage 3. Of course, we're recording this on the final day of stage 2. Technically, like the stage 2 final day is tonight, basically.
Yeah, it starts in 10 hours or something.
Yeah, but it's like we'll kind of get the real ticker. Will be heading into stage 3 when it's like if the stage 3 teams, you know, like. When I inevitably put Vitality...
It's like Mongols is going 3-0 in stage 3, you know? That's what this major deserves, kind of thing.
You know, when I inevitably put, like, you know, Vitality 3-0 and then, I don't know, maybe like Falcon 3-0 or whatever, right? And then both of them go like 3-2. I'm going to be like, right, this is fucking stupid. I will also say as well, granted, I don't know, you know, a lot of us, like, talent and content creators put our, like, pick'ems out. I don't know if anybody's safe yet. Like, I don't think anybody is.
I was through stage 1. Stage 2... I am done. I'm failed because I have 3 teams still alive that if they would go through would be fine, but 2 of them are playing each other, so I'm doomed. I saw Gaules, whatever you fucking call him. He's okay, it seems like, for this stage as well.
Big up.
Got through stage 1, got through, and seems like he's going to get through stage 2.
So
but
I'm like,
apart from
stage 1 I failed by what I had the same thing as you, where it was like I needed like 2 of my like 3-1, 3-2 teams to go through. They played against each other, so I was like, for fuck's sake. In the 2-2 game. So I got like 4 then, and then also like my 03s went 1-3, which is fucking brilliant. Like I had Huns and Red Cannons, which I think was a pretty classic one because like
a lot of people had
Huns are terrible, Cannons are bad. But then it was like Rare Atom and Lynn shit the bed, and then my 3-0s Faze Legacy, which obviously ended in Faze's case made it through in the 3-1, and then Legacy shit the bed. But then it's like so stage 1 I failed, but stage 2 I think I'm actually okay. I think I'm still on for it, but I think it's worth saying that, you know, and this is not even just me coping. If you actually get a diamond coin, you're a moron. I don't care. You're a fucking idiot. Yeah. I just don't care.
You're a brick. You are a brick.
If I see this is the same. I keep this notion for Austin and for the major prior as well. Like anyone who's got a diamond coin in these last few, like you're an idiot. Like
I know someone that got a diamond coin for Shanghai. Shout out Downs one time. I don't think he watches this.
Yeah.
But he's the only person I know that's got a diamond coin in the last 3 majors. Yeah. And to be fair, the Shanghai major was a little bit less, from what I remember, a little bit less chaotic than this one.
Yeah.
It was the spirit to win pick that was kind of like the Giga Galaxy Brain at the time.
Yeah.
And he did that.
Yeah, that is actually quite Galaxy Brain. Good shit.
So he was pretty stoked about that. But I don't think I've known anyone that's got a diamond coin, and thank God for that, because I don't deal with psychopaths.
I'll say mainly as well. It's not even the people who like get the playoffs bit right, where they even go for like a slightly rogue kind of like.
I got playoffs for the last one right, actually.
Yeah, same. I actually think it's like the people who get like stage 1 or stage 2 right, when it's like when it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like no one's making it through. If you're like, especially here, if any of you make it through stage 1 and stage 2 like with 5 or more, like
you're fried.
Yeah. Like I'm blocking you. Like it's like I don't want to ever see your opinions.
Blocked on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, on that topic, I guess let's just quickly go from Faze, right? Like they fucking almost get knocked out stage 1. It was like 0.4 of a second.
They look terrible,
and they would have been out of stage 1, and then they come into stage 2, and they go 3-0. So it's like,
again, consistency.
How can you predict any of this? And I think the thing is like, obviously we all look at FaZe and we say on paper that's a team that should make it through stage 1. They were one of my like quote unquote easy picks, but how you going to barely struggle to make it through stage 1 and then 3-0 stage 2? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think with FaZe, it's such an interesting. But there's also a kind of an argument. I like to make this quite a lot when I do like tournaments where I'm, it's like those like tournaments where we get them quite a lot in like kind of tier 2 in the online, where it's like on a Super Sunday or whatever, I'll have 2 semi-finals into a final, right?
Yeah.
That's like on the Sunday. I play the semis and, of course, the finals later on in the day. And I always say, and it's something actually I've been keeping track of as well, is that the team who have just played a game, so they play that second semi-final and go into the final, they're a little bit more warmed up, always do better than the team who have won. And then, we always like to say on the broadcast, like, oh, and now they've got time to, like, watch their game and prepare. It's like, no, they're fucking not. They're not going to do that. And also, they, like, then cool down. They're going to warm back up again or whatever. And I think this is also the case as well when you get this with the stage 1 into stage 2, where it's like teams who have, they've actually got rid of the nerves and they've got rid of the rust and they're actually like, right, we are in that mindset of like, we're here playing a tournament, we turn up, whereas like they're going against teams who are a little bit shaky and a little bit like, they're still adjusting to the environment and to the stage and to the arena. Obviously as well, this is also the first major which has had all 3 stages in LAN, like in an arena.
Fan environment.
So yeah, again, it's like one of those where it's like you get those situations where for me, I think this is kind of the thing with FaZe, where it's a very similar thing to what I get with the semi-final into final, where it's like they're just now used to the environment they're in. Nothing's new to them. Nothing really quote unquote phases them.
Yeah, that's why they pay you the big bucks. I mean, that's your appearance fee on the podcast. Just worth it.
But no, yeah, exactly. I just think they kind of just like a little bit more like used to what's around them compared to teams who obviously are turning up and then are not so, right? But then again, I guess that doesn't really work as well when you then talk about Na'Vi, just came and just swept as well. Regard. But for the most part, I think this team.
I mean, good on them, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because everyone was like Na'Vi out stage 2.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what they've been saying the whole time. It's like this is the major that matters for us. This is the major that matters for Na'Vi. Yeah. All the rest of the matches.
Bit of the make or break.
And to see them come out in 3-0, I think is a really positive sign. I mean, the teams that they faced maybe weren't super high caliber in the sense that you played against a FlyQuest and a BO1 who were looking kind of off in that game on train.
Playoffs, that is a win for them.
Then they beat Imperial and then they faced Bait, and it's like okay, there's no massive names there necessarily, but you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Also,
it's a good sign to see that Na'Vi are winning games that they should win. That's actually the issue with Na'Vi,
exactly,
and I think this is like the counter issue with Aurora, which is definitely worth talking about.
Where
you're not winning the games that you should walk through. So credit to Na'Vi, big one time for them, winning the games that you should be. I mean, I guess as well with FaZe in stage 2, winning the games that you should be winning. But Na'Vi in particular, but then like, you got flips out of like Aurora. It's like this Aurora, my 3-0 team.
Yeah, mine too. And they were in that same position where we were talking about legacy. We're like, well, this is the team that, like, if anyone's going through this stage, it should be this team. And I had them as my 3-0 as a result. Like, they're clearly, in terms of just the level at which they generally compete, above the rest of the teams in this stage. And then they go 1-3, and you're like, what?
I can't even remember. Oh, my phone's over there.
I mean, I
can't even remember who my other 3-0s. Oh, it was 3D Max.
Yeah, 3D Max might not even make it. We'll see how tonight goes. But like, if these are your 3-1 teams, Paravision, Imperial, and Bait, and one of your 1-3 teams is Aurora, it's like,
did I have Parry and Bait? I think I might have had Parry.
I had Bait, but not Paravision. Definitely not Imperial.
Really? Nah, Parry and my boys. I backed these guys so high. I
had them through in stage 1.
I was so close to putting Paravision 3-0. I was so close to doing it.
Lucky you didn't.
Lucky I didn't. I had them through in the 3-1. I have been following this Paravision side literally from their first game at the start of the year. So they played. I did the finals and like most of the playoffs for the first CCT EU of the year, which Paravision played, which actually ended up being unranked because it was like it didn't follow the rules properly. But it was midway through the tournament, it got unranked. But like as I was covering the tournament, it becomes unranked.
That's sad.
which is kind of a crazy thing. We turned up for like, it was like first day of like the playoffs or whatever. It's like, right, so this is like not ranked anymore. Like these guys are just playing it for the love of the game. And like half the teams like dropped out. And Paravision were like, nah, we're just gonna play it.
Right.
At the time, Paravision as a team were unranked. They were like ranked like, again, it was like when you're anything past like 180th in the world, you're the equivalent of unranked basically.
Yeah.
And I think they were like literally like 190th or some shit like that. And they came in and won it. And I remember as they won it, and they've made changes since. They brought in AW and Zelo since, but that was back when they had like Kickit in the team and Kickit was calling. But I remember just being like these three of like Jame, but Nota and Belchnog. I normally always do like a ones to watch, like rookies to keep an eye out for. I didn't do it this year basically because I'm fucking lazy and I'm really bad at doing YouTube content. But I did make a list, which I think I might just post at the end of the year on Twitter. But I did it in conversation with Paladin and Trav in like our kind of like group chat, and I had Nota number 2, and I had Belchinok as my honorable mention because he's out. He was 22 at the start. I think he's 23 now. And it's like the rookie of the year stuff is always 21 and under.
Okay.
So I put Belchinok in my like honorable mentions because he's just too old. And I like again when I even wrote the script for this fucking video and then never recorded it.
Oh,
but
you're actually bum.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I know. I'm so lazy when it comes to videos. But I said like Nota's fucking sick. Like keep an eye on this guy.
Yeah.
I should actually find that list, but because I think I got like 4 out of 5 I got right in that list. Of like I think one of them was Makaze. No, number 1 was Kaisuke. Number 2 was Nota. Number 3 was Makaze. So obviously like 2 of them are obviously now in tier 1. And there was another one who's in a tier 1 team. Whoever I put number 4 is in a tier 1 team now. And cooking. I want to say it was maybe somebody outside of EU, but we'll see. Yeah, that Paravision side, they play really good Counter-Strike. And now that James taken back over the leadership,
I like it.
they're just back to calling the way that VP called. But like, it's so funny in a way for Paravision to see like, bench James and then just immediately become one of the teams that everyone hates. Like the easiest team to like, if it's ever like, what team could you pay me like you couldn't pay me to watch. Like, if someone was like, I'll give you 100 quid, but you have to watch a VP game.
So what game would you not cast just on principle?
Yeah. Like if someone, exactly. Yeah. Like, or like, let's say there's like we're a duo and there's another duo and it's like, right, we get to choose what game we're casting. I would say to the duo, I'll give you guys 10 quid if we can swap games. Yeah. Like that's like to not cast a Virtus Pro game. That's what I do. So like, that's such a funny thing to see like Jane then go to another team, get a bunch of rookies, a bunch of youngsters and then do really well with them. Where then you look at VP who are just like the worst team to watch at all and like deserve all the failure that's coming their way basically. So, but as a whole, back to what we're kind of talking about, I guess we were kind of on Aurora.
Yeah.
Like, just stinky. And they're actually, I think, funny enough, they're actually in a very similar situation to you Geographically Challenged lot, where it's like, what changes do we actually make? Because they made the right change coming in towards this year. They brought in Jota, absolutely the right choice.
Yes.
Jota was cooking on Sangal. For those who maybe don't watch the tier 2 kind of EU, he was without a doubt one of the most talented players in tier 2 of EU. Any of us who like followed EU regularly, we were bigging up Jota all the time. This guy is so sick, so good on Sangal, looking amazing. Has to get the call up to a tier 1 team. Everyone thought it'd be a tier 1 international team. Then when it was Turn Off Fire, of course, now Aurora, then it was like, oh shit, this is a great move. Like this is such a perfect move. And then this, what do you do? I mean,
I don't know. I think it's just the same thing you were saying about Legacy, where it's like this is just a bad tournament. Like.
Well, do you know what? I actually maybe even disagree because I actually think there's been a lot of notion, and I think a lot of it's led by Thorin, who's obviously not a big fan of Maja, but I think there is a bit of validity in saying his calling is underwhelming. Because I think they've got the right pieces. I thought, Santoris is still a beast. Jota still can put up numbers. Wakadi is still easily one of the kind of the most exciting youngsters to watch, kind of obviously from that region. And we know Woxit can be sharp as fuck when he gets going. So that they've got the pieces. It has to be the calling. Like, and it looked. I mean, from what we've seen in this tournament, and granted, I didn't really watch any of the games because we were out here and time zones and whatnot. But I've caught out the clips and. It does look like there's a bit of a calling issue there as well. So then, but then it's the thing similar with like a Lynn Vision or a Rare Atom. Who do you get? Like who else can call? I don't know any other. Like,
at least for the Chinese teams, there's a bit more of a budding scene where you've got sort of 3 teams that are kind of like actively competing.
Like who is? I literally kind of think of who's the second best Turkish team.
I don't think. I mean, I'm not invested enough in the scene to know that. Yeah, unfortunately,
I don't think there even is one.
I mean, I'm sure there is one. I'm sure there is other teams from Turkey or other players from Turkey that exist.
I mean. I'm not even kidding. I like as me, who's like an avid tier 2 enjoyer. I don't think there's another team.
Right.
Because there used to be Eternal Fire Academy, not a thing anymore. Eternal Fire are back, but they're Polish. They're a Polish team. So it's like, I don't think there actually is. I don't think there's a second core off the top of my head that are Turkish.
Oh well.
Might be one or two players dotted around.
I'm sure there's a couple of players here and there.
But
it's just whether or not they can make that leap. That's
and
the
half
question.
of them have left to go stream now as well. Like basically the old Eternal Fire players who've been like kind of, for a while it was like plus and minusing like players in that Eternal Fire team. Half the ones who've been minus are now just like streamers. So basically they're cooked. I don't know who they can bring in to call.
All right. Well, I mean, from one potential roster change team needed to another, let's talk Tyloo. We haven't really touched on Tyloo just yet. And the big conversation for Tyloo at the moment is obviously what the fuck's going on with Attacker. Obviously, Tyloo have gone 1-3.
Yeah.
I will say we haven't watched the Tyloo versus Liquid game, but by all accounts, it was another classic Tyloo choke.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this on the last podcast, myself, Pilski, and Bleh, after Chengdu, where they just seem to consistently get themselves into really good positions and then just throw them away. There was the infamous, I think it was a 2v5 or 3v5 over on Inferno B side in Chengdu, which kind of like lost Tyloo that game against Vitality. And now something, again, I haven't watched it, but something to the same effect here against Liquid where they were in a good position. I mean, obviously you just look at the scoreline even itself and you say, well, that was a very winnable series where, 16-14, they lose on Inferno. It's like, that's such a super, super winnable game, regardless of how that final round may or may not have played out. Like somewhere along the line in a 16-14, that becomes a winnable map somewhere.
Yeah.
But you're looking now at a Tyloo where, again, Attacker's gone 0.59 for the event, which is not good enough. Obviously, G had a good event. Jamyoung, as always, consistent with this event.
Yeah.
G's definitely a bit more of like a... See, this is what I like about Tyloo, which is what I don't like about Lynn Vision and Rare Atom, is that it does feel like there's that kind of like 1-2 punch a little bit more so there. You've almost always got Jamyoung having a good tournament, having a good map here and there. And then when G's online, it's like, okay, this Tyloo team looks like they can actually do something. So if G's playing well and Jamyoung's playing well, you get quite a bit out of Mercury as an in-game leader. He's obviously not putting up massive numbers, but he's, as an in-game leader, doing fine. Mose is a bit of a rock. And then Attacker, all he has to do is kind of just like hold his bomb site, which at the moment seems like it's a bit of a problem.
Because they changed the calling, didn't they?
Mercury's the in-game leader now.
But it was actually, I remember it was at ACL when they changed it, because we obviously all were in that, we kind of came in towards that event saying, Attacker's calling or whatever, and then basically halfway through the event,
Mercury was
he like took over essentially because they did one of the Chinese broadcasters did an interview with him basically, and he said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm like," he just dropped it, like he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm calling now." And we're like, "What the fuck?" Okay, so I think again, and then it begs the question of actually, like, what is the point of Attacker then? Like,
well, that's what I'm looking at now. We're just having a quick look at the events page for Attacker
I don't
here on
but I can
HLTV.
just see red. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That
When
isn't the Chinese flag. It is red of ratings.
Yeah.
For a recent form.
when he first came back into Tyloo, which it's hard to see because obviously he's only ever really been in Tyloo, but he's dropping a lot of like 1s and 0.95s and very, very close to 1s.
Yeah.
And then
which is actually all you need.
Which is what you need from him in that position.
Get it around, even if it's like anywhere from like a 0.95 up, you're happy with.
But his last 3 events, 0.67 at Budapest Major, 0.79 at Blast Rival Season 2, and 0.63 at Chengdu.
Yeah.
So just not really cutting the mustard. Someone was sort of saying he's dropping Advent numbers, and he is dropping Advent numbers. And
don't get me started on that boy.
Yeah, we love Advent exactly because he was so bad. But like, I love Advent.
I don't.
It became a bit of a meme, right? It was like, oh, Advent's just so tragically bad.
Yeah.
That but he's still in the team and he's still one of the best Chinese teams.
Yeah.
I mean, if Attacker is going to be dropping Advent numbers and he's not IGLing, it's time to go, bro. Like, sorry. And I had a conversation with a Chinese fan, the other day on Twitter, Blues, and he was sort of saying, what do you think of Tyloo at the moment? A lot of the Chinese community want G to be replaced. They don't think he's good enough, and I'm like,
G.
I don't know that G's really the problem. Like, sure, G is a bit up and down. There's no question about that. He's a bit of an inconsistent AWPer, but he's also very young. And he's also, obviously quite a positive member of the team in terms of like the vibes, I assume. But, if you've got Attacker who's like 30 plus at this point, he's the old guard, he's playing these anchor roles and he's dropping 0.67s, he's not able to hold his bomb sites. you know, I never really like to be that guy that's like, oh, this guy should go. But like, I think it's in the same vein as Marek. You know, it's like, why have you got this guy when you could just have like literally anybody else in that position and they just shoot better. All they need to do is shoot better.
Again, like coming back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, like, you know, get Chao King in towards the team, shuffle the roles a little bit. I mean, half of this rifling core of Tyloo have played basically every role at this point.
Yeah.
Put Chao King in a little bit more of like you don't even need to put him in a hero role, but put him in a little bit more of an active role, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
And it's just a direct upgrade. Like also I don't get like this is a thing that I didn't really understand when I was out in China doing ACL. It was like even then, like a big narrative that apparently is said quite a lot in the Chinese scene is about G. Like,
yes.
Because basically
they don't like G.
They don't like G essentially. Like so, my understanding was. And feel free to correct me on this, but this is what I was told basically by like the Chinese broadcast, right? Is that people didn't like G initially when he came in because they didn't like his bubbly nature. Because in general,
I've heard the same.
They prefer like stoic and like you know like people who are like exactly calm natured, you know, not flashy people. Don't like characters. We're actually kind of in the West. We love those kind of people. That's why G is like easily
G and Amelia.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in particular G is without a shadow of a doubt the number one Asian player in terms of who people love. Like I don't think it's even close. Like every broadcast like thing, it's all about, you know, get G an ice cream or, you know, speak to G because he's funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he is like without a shadow of a doubt the most loved player from the Asian scene or just any you know Asian scene across the board. It's not even close. Like, you know, you ask like the average fan, they'll say G all the time because he's lovely and he's lovable, right? But they don't like it. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. And then it was like people saying like, oh, and also it's like, you know, we you know, they also don't think he's good enough. And it's like who could you possibly get right now that is better but and also stable? Because yes, I agree, Zaka probably is better, but fuck me, that guy comes with some baggage right now, and is it really worth the risk? I don't think so. Is he going to end up in a bit of trouble potentially? So,
I mean, Tiger has showed promise in Rare Atom. I will say that.
Yes,
much.
Agreed. But again, that's way more of a gamble, and I would even like I'd you know, as a non-betting man, bet quite a lot. You put Tiger in towards the Tyloo team, playing the level of teams they're playing, he gets fucking folded.
It's possible,
there's no
for
way
sure.
He's ready. Like his playstyle is so much more aggressive than G.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like I guarantee I'll put money on it. The fact that Tiger is not seeing some of these flashes that some of these EU teams would throw against him on an EU land. There's no way he'd be able to keep up. Not yet. Granted, a lot of promise, a lot of talent. He needs to play domestically first and become elite level domestically before he can even remotely be able to compete with Tyloo, who granted this end of the year's not been great, but they did win Fissure only half a year ago or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, they've still been able to prove that they can go toe to toe with, you know, some of EU's best. So this is the thing for me where it's like it has to be attackers the change, because you could easily shuffle roles here and have like someone like a Chao King in this team, or even, you know, maybe you don't even need the shuffle roles, like adding like a Li Hang in towards this team. You know
particularly I think because Attacker's coming up to about 12 months on his contract, I'd imagine. I don't know what his contract would be like, and again, Tyloo contracts are notorious for being like
weird
contract prison. You know, 5 years or something like that. But it has been about a year since Attacker came in, because I remember the first tournament of the year Tyloo played at was Extreme Sand. The start of this year they played with Orman, and then after that it was
of course,
Attacker was straight in after that, and we were all like, what the fuck, why is Attacker in here? And then he actually played pretty well for a few months, and now it's kind of getting to that point again. So
the issue is his contract actually could be quite long, and then they want to bench him and just pay him.
Well, they've done that in the past for no shortage of players.
Yes, I mean, they came into this year with 9 players.
Yeah, I mean, and Freeman notoriously for a long time was on the Tyloo bench for like.
They just turn them into streamers, basically.
Yeah,
like they just become like, you know, the biggest streamers on like Billy and stuff like that. I mean, that's what Advent is.
Advent's huge. Yeah,
he's killing it on streaming. So, you know, as much as I hate him as a player, I will say as well, this also kind of reminded me as you brought up Advent. Every single podcast I've done with you on Geographically Challenged, that too. But I've brought up like, you know, a few players and saying like they need to be benched, and like rapidly they get benched. It's
all right. Let's do it. Magic touch. Attacker.
So I think Attacker. Well, the thing is, so the last one it was last one was at ACL.
Last one was at
ACL.
Oh yeah, it was ACL.
ACL time.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I did then, but somebody I said got benched. Then before that at Shanghai, I remember it was Fnatic, and I said K to the coach needs to go, and it was some player from Tier 1 EU who also needed to go, and he went. Both of them went within like a week, basically. But so one of the players that we've mentioned will get benched. I'm like 4 for 4 on this. We're like, I don't specifically say like, right, this is Neo's bench prediction here, but like one of the guys I brought up in the podcast, whether it's somebody like an attacker or like even like, you know, you're looking towards like Gamerlegion who needs to, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, what but somebody will go. And I do want, like, it's never like this person I think will go soon. It's always like, I think they should make this change. And then a week's time, it's like, they fucking did it. All right, there we go. So I wonder who it will be this time. But I do hope that if it's one of them, it is attacker. Like, I just think for if he's calling him, I can even give him a little bit of leeway of like why his rating's that bad. But now that he's not calling, he has nothing else to really think about. Yes, he might be a secondary voice, as much as they love throwing that buzzword around, right? You know, but it doesn't make up for going 0.5, whatever it was, right? So you could so easily bring up so much firepower. And there's a lot of decent firepower, even if you look outside of Lynn and Rare Atom. There's like some teams are in the kind of the tier 2 of China who are actually like, they've got definitely pieces. I mean, bro, like when I was at ACL, first time ever hearing about teams like Kaleido or teams like
boring players, Fengda.
Oh, Fengda's another great example, bro. Kaleido, they've got some absolute cookers on that team. They look really. They've got some definitely some guys who are sharp as fuck. So yeah, there's a lot of like decent talent. I think within kind of the tier 2. I think the teams. Again, I forget who. Bad at me now. I forget who they were, but it's like Kaleido, Fengda. There was another team as well who
probably
made
like
it.
At the time it was like Cat Evil or something like that. Cat Evil or Dog Evil.
Yeah, there was another team though who were like this. That was their first ever tournament, and they made it through the open qual, and then they actually made it through the first stage into then like when like FlyQuest joined in and they got farmed then. But like I even remember in that first stage being like, damn, these guys are like actually impressive. There's some decent talent there. There's like guys like I think there's one guy off the top of my name was like Tutu. Who's been around for a while. He was obviously kind of in like he was in like New Happy and those kind of teams like Cat Evil, the guys
Ronin kind of Baby, all these guys.
Yeah. But there's like enough guys there where it's like I think it's even worth taking the risk for somebody like an attacker because you've got enough security with the rest of those guys, but you just need an injection of firepower. It makes no sense anymore because it's just like, you know, you could easily get an anchor who's going to put more output on the T side. Yeah. I think the big thing that, you know, hasn't been mentioned just yet from us too much is that Asia's lost a spot now. We've gone from 6 spots to 5 spots. Because neither FlyQuest nor Tyloo made it out of stage 2 to stage 3, which is what Lynn Vision was able to do last major, which gave us the stage 2 slot, which was what Tyloo occupied here. Mongols obviously still give us +1 slot on the base of 4 from stage 1. They'll now currently be +1 stage 2. See, again, this is where this gets in confusing stage. We have a stage 2 slot and 4 stage 1 slots. Pending what Mongols do, if they make playoffs, it will become a stage 3 slot instead of a stage 2 slot. Either way, that slot still remains because Mongols is playing stage 3. I can't lie. Mad to think that there might be another team from Asia right now that goes to stage 3. Like, I don't think any of them deserve it.
No, it would. Well, it would be.
Or to be direct to stage 2. That's
No. So the way it will work is whoever the highest seed VRS team from Asia is come the next major will be taking the top Asia spot, which will be either a stage 2 slot or a stage 3 slot. The high likelihood is that will still remain Mongols.
Of course. I thought you were saying there's another team.
No, it will not be another one. It would only be if it would only have been if FlyQuest or Tyloo would make it to stage 3 and then progress to the playoffs. But as it stands right now, it is a stage 2 slot for the Mongols currently. But that depends on what the Mongols does.
It will be the Mongols next major.
More than likely, unless that team disappears.
Catching them up,
I don't know if I'm that mad about this. You know what I mean? Like I would obviously love to see more Asia teams getting the opportunity to compete and playing well and whatnot. But frankly speaking, having had the 6 slots in this major and looking at the teams which we sent, I was like, I don't know if we deserve any more slots.
It's the deserving thing. Like, as much as you can say you want the spot, which absolutely you do, right? But like, by the way you've played Counter-Strike as a region, this tournament, do you deserve it? Like, no, you can't make the argument. I mean, granted, obviously, like stage 1 FlyQuest was great. Don't get me wrong, but then like having both
you can't have 2 Chinese teams going 0-3 and then Huns going 1-3. Like, 3 out of the 4 Asia teams in stage 1 went last or second last.
And then you go into stage 2, and like, granted, you know, unfortunately, FlyQuest, but then
0-3-1-3.
There's no way you can make the argument that you deserve to keep that spot over like EU or like South, even like the Americas now as well, right? With like, you know, credit to them, like, you know, M80's
doing
really,
fine,
really
okay,
sharp,
yeah,
like, you know, playing good Counter-Strike.
Yep.
And, you know, even like, again, like bafflingly Imperial look really quite good as well, like somehow. So it's like, yeah, you just can't make the argument at the moment that you deserve over them.
The thing is, like, there aren't even any better teams that we could really have said, like, oh, they missed out. If they were there, they would have done better. It's like, who can you really say would have done better than Rare Atom or the Hun?
Like who's behind them?
Who's
really?
behind
like,
Rare Atom and the Huns? I think it might have been Eruption that just missed out. I don't think that they would have done markedly better.
Yeah, no way.
None of those sort of tier 2 Chinese teams that you were mentioning would have done any better.
No way.
None of the Oceanic teams, Semperfi, I think would like to think that they would do better, but unfortunately they've never gone to Asia and even competed.
They're
really,
actually the only one I can make like a legit argument.
Yeah,
with, but in the sense of like I watched them obviously win all those cups.
Yeah.
Like, and I only watched like one of the finals, the last one in all fairness.
Yeah.
It's just them battering Rooster every time. Which
Yeah.
is quite funny.
But then like Rooster and Semperfi have never done anything in Asia. They always go. If they go, they get ruined by Mongolian teams.
Are they going? Is Semperfi going Streamsland?
No, they lost the qual to Rooster. So Rooster's going to Extreme Zone.
Okay.
Be very interesting to see how that team goes, even though they're a dead team. The one thing is obviously going into the next major that I think kind of makes this a little bit disappointing is I think it makes it a little bit harder for Thunder Down Under, for example, to qualify through. Yep. And I think that would be an interesting team to potentially see what they could do. Although
it's a long road for them to get to a point of being in conversation. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And they did just lose the CCT final to Ground Zero in a best of 5.
Seriously?
Yeah, Ground Zero beat them 3-2. We did the
semi and we were like, oh, the rematch. Whatever,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I thought that was going to be an easy, quick one for Thunder Down Under. But
big up Ground Zero. Fair
Ground
play.
Zero, yeah,
fair
congrats.
Play. Because we obviously did Ground Zero versus, who was it again?
Mind Freak.
Yeah. That was it. Again, you have to say a bit of a poop versus fart in that one. It
was
Mind Freak that did nothing really.
Yeah.
But Ground Zero actually looked pretty solid.
Yeah.
But then we were like, surely Thunder Down Under beat them again because they beat them obviously earlier in the top bracket.
Yeah.
Big up Ground Zero. Fair play.
So look, obviously interesting to see what's going to happen in the next major cycle. Obviously, we'll see what goes on as well with Mongols in stage 3.
I think the whole region needs a bit of a kick up the arse.
They need a bit.
And this is probably the kick up the arse. Where it's like,
well, yeah, because
it's a wake up call.
This was I felt like this, and the big thing was this was the major, which it felt like, oh, this is Asia's major. This is our chance to really do it because we've got the slots. We've had the teams that have done well.
There's more opportunities
in Austin. Yeah. Good in theory, good form for Lynn Vision, good form for Mongols, great form for Mongols. Obviously, having just made the major final, winning EWC, and then pretty good form for Tyloo, winning Fisher. And FlyQuest is on the up and up because they're making roster changes and they're looking better. And then Senzu leaves the Mongols, and then Lynn Vision has the fucking Zaka drama and takes a nosedive, and then Tyloo starts losing their form, or just Tyloo's just. They're just not winning. That's the thing. Is like they have a lot of really, really, really fucking close matches, but they just don't win them. Yeah. So there's that, and then
they need a mental coach if they don't have one already. I don't know. Generally, it feels like it's like small things like that. I say small things. So it's quite a big thing to do, but like there was a lot of positives coming into this major, but it feels like unfortunately only one of them has actually stuck, which is FlyQuest on the improve. And I mean the big ticker really it might even be the final nail in the coffin is if we get to stage 3 and Mongols go absolutely brick it, then it's like fuck your region's actually that is like I mean we're already
back to the dark times.
Yeah, you're already in a bit of trouble now, just in terms of like the fact that there's like no competitiveness on an international scope outside really of the Mongols. Like in terms of like being a legit like even like a tier 1.5 contender, like for FlyQuest, I think they're close, but I still wouldn't consider them like tier 1.5.
No. I don't even think that's their goal
on an international scale. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is their goal, obviously, ultimately, but I think their goal right now for them is just get into a stable position where they can kind of again be getting invites to tournaments. So they need to be like top 20 in the world kind of thing. They need to find a way to get there.
Right now, they're not there, but I think they've got the right pieces to get there. But then it's like, right, like. In the tier 2, really, on an international scope, you guys really can't compete. And then it's like, if you then get to a point where the Mongols, who are in a bit of a weird spot because everyone's still wondering what it's going to be like, minus Senzu and plus, what's his name again? Controllers, who I know did all right first tournament for them. I've casted quite a bit of Controllers this year, and he was underwhelming for me. I don't know.
I think he kind of cooks. He's always been in bad teams.
Like
individually, I think he's a bit of a fragger, but he's not Senzu.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird time, but yeah. So like, just generally speaking, it's like one of those where it's like very interesting spot now for the region, because if Mongols then come in towards this major and then shit the bed, then you are right. It's like it is dark times. It's like wow, like what? Where do we go from now? Because like the Mongols actually do feel like, as a whole, and granted this is probably partly because of the getting rid of Senzu, or like Senzu not being in the team anymore, that they are on like a bit of a downward stretch, a slight bit, like compared to them being at points this year #1 in the world, right?
Yeah.
First time ever from an Asian team. So it's like it's a bit of a weird spot where we are currently I think we're like really on a knife's edge, like, you know, where you're in the point of being like, okay, sigh of relief, we've made it through. Mongols have actually got to playoffs, or Mongols have done okay into stage 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think playoffs is what they need, to be honest.
Yeah,
they need to make it to playoffs.
Regain the playoff spot.
Mongols get to playoffs, like, whew, all right, cool. It's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But then it's like, actually, if the Mongols don't make it, then that is the nail in the coffin. It's like, oh shit, like we're in that trouble.
Well,
here.
I mean, it's not the nail in the coffin, I think, in the sense that the region's dead or anything like that.
No,
I think
no,
Mongols is still
like,
enough of a product to say they're going to be a competitive enough team.
I mean, I'm talking like nail in the coffin, like,
they're
like
not,
you're in like the region's actually in a bit of a bad spot.
we're on the
like,
we're on the downward trajectory again instead of on the upward trajectory, which it felt like for 12 months we've been trending positive, and now it's kind of like, ooh, we might have stagnated, and ooh, we might be going back down a little bit unless FlyQuest can kind of like improve enough to sort of take that slot that Tyloo and Lynn Vision were kind of occupying, in that they're competitive enough, and then Mongols obviously need to maintain their position as well. So there's a few things I think that need to go right for Asia in the start of 2026 if we're to kind of continue to go in the right direction. But
I feel like a lot of Asia as well does really feel like it's a trickle down thing, where it's like you need the Mongols at that top level doing really well, and then everyone else kind of gets inspired behind it type vibe.
Well, Mongolia especially, but Anyway, shall we wrap it up there? I think that's that's pretty much everything that we sort of wanted to touch on. Again, obviously, for those of you that are tuning in, we can't really talk about the culmination of Stage 2. We can't talk about Stage 3 just yet because we've still got the 3 matches this evening to watch. So
10 p.m.
Yeah, I think it starts at midnight. I think it starts at midnight. For us.
I will not be there.
Yeah, I will not be there. I will be asleep at 10 o'clock.
We have got work tomorrow.
But we will probably do another one of these. I'd say, I don't know exactly what the dates are for the major here. What time does the playoffs start?
It might actually, because we have that day off, right? At this event.
In the middle.
It might even be, that might be the play. Like, just do a morning day off.
Get my calendar up here.
Which honestly might be like midway through Stage 3 or like midway through the playoffs or whatever. But it's like better than nothing. And then you guys can wrap it up at Extremes Land with Conky, Pilski, K.
I think our day off is the 11th here for work. So that's the first day of that'll be just before the first day of the major playoffs.
That's not bad.
That could be perfect. We'll try.
Timing wise,
I've got an episode there, Geographically Challenged, in the calendar. So hopefully, in about 2 weeks on the 11th, maybe we'll do another one.
Wait, on here, just make sure 28th, just put Neo's birthday.
Neo's birthday, 28th of December. I'll remember that. And for those of you in the chat, make sure you wish Neo a happy birthday on the 28th of December. He'll be turning 16, so it's a big day for him. Finally gets to see boobies for the first time. All right. Look, let's wrap it up there. Like, comment, subscribe. buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy if you want to give us money. We don't have a sponsor, so that would be much appreciated. I can buy Neo a coffee if you buy me a coffee.
About time.
Anyways, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Hey guys, just at the end of that video and heading into 2025, I want to give a massive shout out to Jean, who has been a big supporter of mine on buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy. She's been a member for over 12 months. And if you'd be interested in supporting my content and getting this content grind going, then head over there as well and check it out. Thank you very much.